All right, welcome to Chapter 9, Lesson 12. We are on page 683, Subtract Mixed Numbers. Our essential question is, how can equivalent fractions help me add and subtract fractions? Take a moment to process that question. Example 1. A king crab weighs 2 3/4 pounds. A second king crab weighs 1 1/4 pounds. How much more, look at for that vocab, does the one king crab weigh? So if we weren't looking at the problem in our book, we would want to use this vocabulary to indicate which operation, right? Add, subtract, multiply, or divide. Use the models to find the difference, another key vocabulary term. So find 2 3/4 minus 1 1/4. We have common denominators here. So we're going to estimate. We take our 2 3/4. Maybe you're picturing it on a number line here. So we round up to 3. And our 1 1/4. However you picture that. Number lines are easy for my brain, so I like thinking of it in that terms. Round down to the 1. 3 minus 1 is 2. So remember that those estimates are important because now when we actually do the math, if our answer is near 2, then we will know we probably haven't made a mistake. So this time we're going to do it with models. Use 2 3/4, so we have 2 wholes and 3 1/4 pieces. And we're going to subtract 1 1/4 by crossing out 1 whole and 1 tile. And I always like to start crossing off on the right hand side working backwards so that the rest stay intact, right? You wouldn't want to cross this middle one out. You could still count them and get to the right answer, but it just makes it a little more awkward. So there is 1 whole and 2 1/4 tiles left. So 1 and 2 1/4 tiles left. But we know that we need to simplify, and this is where the book doesn't leave us enough space. So we need to simplify by finding what can go into both the numerator and denominator. Keep our 1, and 2 divided by 2 is 1, 4 divided by 2 is 2. So this really becomes 1 1/2. Therefore, 2 3/4 minus 1 1/4 is 1 1/2. The first king crab weighs 1 1/2 pounds more than the second. Then you will check for reasonableness. 2, which was our estimate, is about equal to 1 1/2. Therefore, it is reasonable. Turn to page 683. All right, so this way, no models. Either way, whichever works for you. We have 6 11/16 minus 2 5/8. We have unlike fractions. So what's our first step? Find the LCD. Okay. We'll estimate real quick. 6 11/16. You can think about it's either 6 or 7, and you have 11 out of 16. Half of 16 would be 8, so you're going to round up, right? We're over half, so we'll round up to 7. And then we have 2 5/8. Again, half of 8 would be 4. 5 is more than 4, so we'll round up there as well. 7 minus 3 is 4. Write an equivalent fraction. So remember that LCD means least common denominator. And we find that by finding our least common multiple, skip counting by those numbers. Remember, we're going to use that number sense. If I'm skip counting by 8s and I get to a number I know 16 goes into, such as 16, I'm just going to stop instead of writing a very long list. So we'll take our 2 5/8 and make an equivalent fraction. So we need to get from 8 to 16. The book already showed us we're multiplying by 2, but that would be the type of thinking you need to do on your own without the book's help. And then what you do to the bottom, you do to the top. So 5 times 2 is 10. Keep your whole number. Now we can take our 6 11/16 and actually put in our new equivalent fraction. Remember that these are equal. 5/8 and 10/16 are equal. It's just that the size of the pieces has changed, but the value is the same. So 6 and 11/16 minus 2 and 10/16. 6 minus 2 is 4. 11 minus 10 is 1. Our denominator doesn't change. Therefore, our answer is 4 and 1/16. And our estimate was 4. Our answer is 4 and 1/16. Literally 1/16 away from each other, so our answer is reasonable. Guided practice. We have 4 and 2/3 minus 2 and 1/3. Although this is stacked, I like writing them this way because I can visually look at the 2 minus the 1. Okay, but you can also keep them stacked. You're just still trying to separate the fractions from the whole numbers here. And same here, we have 2 common denominators, so these problems should not feel difficult for you. You can do 5 minus 3 is 2, and 4/5 minus 2/5 is 2/5. Remember though, when we finish, we do need to ask ourselves if anything can go into the numerator and denominator to continue to simplify. But when we have a 1 as the numerator, it's called a unit fraction. It is simplified. Whenever 1 is the numerator, it cannot be any smaller. And then here you have an odd and an even. You have 2 prime numbers, and 2 does not fit evenly into 5. Therefore, it is also simplified. The only thing you could divide by is 1, which will not change the answer. Let's look at number 3. You can keep it stacked if you like. I find that more difficult to work with, so I'm going to change the direction here. I'm looking at the denominators, they're different, but I do see with my number sense skills that 2 goes into 4. So I'm going to keep that number, and I'm going to make this fraction with a denominator of 4. So 2 times 2 is 4, 1 times 2 is 2, and my new mixed number becomes 2 and 2/4. That way when I subtract, 5 minus 2 is 3, and 3/4 minus 2/4 is 1/4. Again, we just talked about that. Since 1/4, 1 is the numerator, we are all done.